Hello and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today we'll continue from part 2, basic laws of indices. In our previous video, I explained some terms that you need to know in order to understand indices. I defined some terms. I defined index, I defined a base, and I also talked about the what negative index and the fractional index. But today we'll be looking at the laws of what indices. So let's start with the first one. Number one, multiplying with the same base. So like the law says, multiplying with the same base, we need two bases or more in order to what multiply. Let's say we have a base a raised to power of what m raised to power, or you can call it index, or you can call it exponent, times the same base again a raised to another power n. So our answer will be equals to, so since the law says multiplying with the same base, you simply what, you add both powers. You what, add both what, powers. Take note. So if we add both powers, we'll bring out the base, the common base. This is our base, a is our base. So we'll bring it out, a, and these are our powers. This is our power. So we will now write what, a raised to power what, m plus n. So this is the first what, law, multiplying with the same base. So now let's use another example. Let's say we have 2 raised to power what, 3 times 2 raised to power what, 2. You take note, both of them have what, same what, base. So they are obeying the law. So the thing what we'll do is we'll multiply their powers, or their what, index, 3 and 2. Now for us to multiply the power index, we simply what, add both powers. So we'll have our answer to be what, 2 raised to power what, 3 plus what, 2, which will give us what, 2 raised to power what, 5. And in our previous video, when we were expanding this index, we call this an index or index form. We define an index form is simply num writing in numbers and powers. So we'll have that 2 raised to power 5 will be equals to what, 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times what, 2. That's 2 into what, 5 places. So for us to get our final answer, 2 times 2 will give us what, 4. 4 times 2 will give us what, 8. 8 times 2 will give us what, 16. And 16 times 2 will give us what, 32. So our answer is what, 32. So we can simply come here and write 2 raised to power 3 times 2 raised to power 2 is equal to what, 30 what, 2. Very simple, right? So this is the first basic law of what? Indices. So we'll move to the next one. All right. The next one, number 2, is what? Dividing with the same powers, with the same base, sorry. Dividing the same base. Take note, they are both similar. The first one was multiplying the same base, second one was dividing the same base. So the common thing there is what? Same what? Base. Take note of that, please. So for this law, let's say we have our base, we are still going to use a raised to power what? M divided by a raised to power what? N. We'll have that our answer will be what? For dividing same base, you simply do what? Take note, subtract what? Subtract the powers. So when we subtract the powers, since we have a common base, we write it down. This is our base a. So write it down a, and these are our powers m and n. So we subtract it. So it will be a raised to power what? M minus what? N. So if we want to use numbers, we can say we have 3 raised to power what? 6 divided by what? 3 raised to power what? 3. So if we want to follow the law, first of all we check, do they have the same base? Because the law says dividing same base. If they have the same base, which is 3, same base, we'll bring it out 3. Then we check our sign. Since it's dividing, we simply do what? Subtract the powers, and the powers are 6 and 3. So it now be base 3 raised to power 6 minus what? 3. And we'll be left with what? 3. 3 minus 3 will give us what? 3. We'll be left with what? 3 raised to power what? 3. If we further break it down, we'll have that 3 raised to power 3 is simply 3 times 3 times 3, which will give us 3 times 3 is what? 9. And 3 times 3 again, 9 times 3 is what? 27. 9 times 3 is what? 20 what? 7. So our final answer will be what? 20 what? 7. Very simple, right? So we are done with this second law. We'll move to the next law. The next law, number 3, let's go. Next law is called what? Power of what? Power law. Like the name implies, power of power. So let's say we have a base a raised to a power m raised to another power n. So power of a power. So when we have power of a power, we simply what? Multiply their what? Powers. Multiply the what? Powers. So we have that base a raised to power n, or raised to index n, or raised to exponent n, times this n to now be a raised to power m times n. So we are multiplying their powers, m times n. M and n are the powers. So when we multiply, we have that our final answer will be what? A raised to power what? M times n will give us what? M n. Similarly, if we were to use a number, let's say 2 raised to power what? 3 raised to another power 2, we'll have that our answer will be what? 2 raised to power 3 times what? 2, which will give us what? 2 raised to power what? 3 times 2 give us what? 6. And if we expand, further expand, 6 raised to power 2 raised to power 6 is simply telling us that we should multiply this base 2 6 times, because the index of the power is 6. So we have what? 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times what? 2. So our final answer will be what? 2 times 2 will give us 4. 4 times 2 will give us 8. 8 times 2 will give us what? 16. 16 times 2 will give us what? 32. And 32 times 2 will give us what? 64. So our final answer will be what? 64. So we can come here and write that 2 raised to power 3 raised to what? Another power again, that's power of power 2 is equals to what? 60 what? 4. So this is the third law, the power of a power. So the next one, number 4, if we have any number or any base or number raised to what? Power 0. That's the third base. Any number, that's the fourth law. Any number or base raised to power 0. So for this law, let's say we have a base a raised to power 0 to give us what? 1. So any number raised to power 0 will automatically give us 1. But note, that's except the base a is not equals to what? 0. That's except, take note of this. So as long as a is not equals to 0, as long as a is not equals to 0, then our answer will be 1. So let's take further examples. If we have what? 9 raised to power 0, we'll have what? 1. If we have 11 raised to power 0, we have what? 1. If we have 13 raised to power 0, we have what? 1. If we have 99 raised to power 0, we have what? 1. If we have 100 raised to power 0, we have 1. If we have 1000 raised to power 0, we still have what? 1. So any number or base raised to a power of 0 will give us what? 1. So let's move to the next what? Next law. Okay. This law, number 5, is simply it's similar to the other one we just talked about, but this is to base 1 or to power 1. So any base or what number to power 1. So this is the fifth law. Any base slash number or number to power 1. So we have a base, let's say a, Let's use a. We like using a raised to power 1. Take note, our answer will be equals to what? A. Why? Take this down. Note, any base or number to power 1 will produce itself, to give us itself. So to what? Produce what? It what? Self. Very important. Please note this down. So if we have 10 raised to power 1, we'll still have what? 10. If we have 50 raised to power 1, we'll have what? 50 as our answer. And if we have 100 raised to power 1, we'll still have what? 100. Very simple, right? So we'll move to the next one. This is called what? Number 6. Call it negative what? Index. Remember, index is the same thing as power, the same thing as exponent. Let me write it here. It's called the negative index or power or what? Exponent. So for this law, let's say we have a base a raised to power of minus n. Take note. Note, whenever we have a negative power, we simply take the what? Reciprocal. Take what? The what? Reciprocal. What does reciprocal simply mean? It means to what? Flip the number. Remember, in our previous video, I made mention of how we flip numbers. We say that 2 is the same thing as what? 2 over 1, right? And if you flip it, if you bring 1 over here and take 2 over here, it will be what? 1 over 2. That's what? Taking the reciprocal, right? So for this base now, similarly, if we flip a, we have that a, since a is same thing as a over 1, and if we flip it, we have 1 over a. So we'll bring it here, 1 over a. Remember our power or index, then we'll write it down, raised to power what? N. Very simple, right? So whenever you talk about a negative index, you're simply what? Flipping the number. You get? That's taking the reciprocal. Similarly, if you have, let's say, 5 raised to power minus 2, you simply have that to become 1 over 5 after flipping raised to power what? 2. Then if we further expand, it will now give us 1 over what? 5 times what? 5. And we know that 5 times 5 is what? 25, right? So we'll have what? 1 over what? 20 what? 5. Very what? Simple. So let's move to the final law. So the final law, which is number 7, is called what? Fractional index. Slash what? Power slash what? Exponent. Like the name says, fractional index or fractional power. A fraction is simply a part of a what? Whole number. Let's say 1. If you want to break down 1 in fraction, we have half plus what? Half. I made mention of this in our previous video, which will give us what? 1. So the numerator will tell us how much value we have out of the entire value, which is the denominator 2. So we have 1 out of 2 and we have 1 after 2. So if we add the both of them, we have 2 over 2. That's, if you add these two, we now have what? 2 over 2. And if you divide 2 divided by 2, we get what? 1. That's how we got this one. So this is a fraction, a part of a whole number. So imagine putting a fraction or attaching it to a base. Let's say our base now is what? A raised to power what? 1 over what? N. So this 1 over n is a fraction. And whenever you see a fraction, take note, it simply means taking the root of that power. Taking the what? Take the what? Square root. Anytime you see an index or a power, you simply take the what? Root of the what? Power. So now our answer will be equals to what? N root of what? Base what? A. Very simple, right? So let's use a number. Let's say we're given 4 raised to power what? 1 over 2. This will simply be what? The square root of 4. If we further break this down, it will give us what? The square root of what? 2 what? Root 2. The square root to cancel this, the power, and we'll be left with what? 2. Similarly, if we have 8 raised to power 1 over 3, for the fractional index or power or exponent law, whenever you see a power in a fraction form, you simply what? Take the root. So now the denominator will determine what will be outside the root. Since here we have 2, we did what? Square root. That's 4 into 2 places. Then now we have 3. So 8 broken down into 3 places will give us what? Okay, let's say cube root 3, cube root of 8, which is the same thing as the cube root of what? 2 cube. So the cube will cancel, the root will cancel the cube, and we'll be left with what? 2. Alright. So these are the what? 7 basic laws of indices. We've covered them. Let's just take a recap of all we did. So the first one was the multiplying with the same base. And we said while multiplying with the same base, simply what? Add both what? Powers. For dividing with the same base, we simply what? Subtract the what? Powers. Then we said for power of a power, we simply what? Multiply the what? Powers. And we made mention that any number raised to base to power 0 except from 0 itself will give us what? 1. The next law, we say that any base or number raised to power 1 will produce what? Itself. Next one, we talked about the what? Negative index or power. We say whenever we see a negative index or power, we simply what? Take the reciprocal. That is simply what? Flipping the what? The base. Then finally, we made mention of what? The fractional index or what? Power or what? Exponent, which means that you what? Take the root of what? The power. So whenever I see a fraction, it's simply telling you to take the what? The root. So in our next video, I'll be solving examples using these laws of indices. So please make sure you what? Subscribe to my channel. If you're new to this channel, please subscribe, share, like, turn on your notification so any video I drop you get instant notification. And in case you have any question, you can simply drop it in the comment section and I'm going to respond to it. Thank you and see you in our next video.